Welcome everyone. Today we have our uh, a very important and special episode because this is our 600 episode. We will discuss on digital trust. We have our world famous speaker, Professor Edward, Professor David Smith, and Mr. Willie Hill. Most important thing is that I want to share one of the good news. One of the university from Bangladesh, BRAC University, they win World Debating Championship. It was open, so Oxford, Cambridge, Harvard, Stanford, all of the big university attend in these competitions. Around 200 university from around the world join in this debating championship, and this is first time any Asian university win this debating championship, and it's from very small country where I am from. It's from Bangladesh. So World Talent Economy Forum majorly focus on talent people. They are working on developing the talent economy, and definitely we focus on country like Bangladesh, India, Malaysia, and Indonesia. So thank you, all of our speaker, for your continuous support for World Talent Economy Forum, and I want to give special thanks to Bangladesh debate team to become World Debate Champion. Now I want to give floor Professor Edward.
Ah, thank you very much, and congratulations to the team. This is great. I want to point out that debate rhetoric used to be something that was taught, going back thousands of years, because rhetoric isn't just about you arguing with me. It's a thought process. It stimulates thinking. If you read Aristotle and some of the great philosophers. So this isn't just a matter of, well, these guys did a good job, winning the contest. It's that they did a good job of figuring out how to think and promoting rational thinking. So I want to add my congratulations to Sharif's comments to this incredible team. You'll have to pardon me. I have to get off. I'm suffering right now from COVID, even though I had all my shots. But you see that shots at least make as much of a difference that I'm not in the hospital. I'm talking to you guys. So everybody keep healthy. The topic today, digital trust, is an important one that perhaps goes beyond what many people think. Let's remember that two of the great entrepreneurs of our time, Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, started making their fortunes with a company called PayPal. And the problem, of course, was that when the internet commerce started to really rev up, how could you trust giving your credit card numbers or your bank account numbers to somebody online who you didn't know? Digital trust and privacy was absolutely crucial. And so what happened, of course, was that Elon Musk, now the richest person in the world, and Peter Thiel, who's one of the great entrepreneurs and investors now, figured out a way to become a third-party trusted source that could basically make sure that if I want to buy something from Sharif in Malaysia or Bangladesh, I don't have to worry about fraud. I don't have to worry about money getting lost or stolen. I do it through PayPal. That was an incredible breakthrough. But the idea of digital trust is going to be even more important in the future. And I'm going to just give you two, pardon me, two examples. The first is, of course, the Internet of Things. And this is the idea that in a few years, the planet is going to be girded with over 500 billion sensors of some sort or another. Whether they're weather monitors, cameras, microphones, you name it. And the Internet of Things is the idea that we're interconnected with this web. And so, for example, we can have smart refrigerators, smart houses. We walk into our home and automatically the temperatures and humidity and so forth is adjusted for our needs. If I'm walking down the street, an artificial intelligence that has looked at all of everything they can know about me knows that there's a particular shirt in this shop right here that I would probably like. And boop, suddenly it pops up. The point is the Internet of Things is going to seriously rely on knowledge about us as individuals. But of course, we're going to be very careful about what is done with that information and knowledge. We want it to be used properly and not for bad reasons. And so there's going to be a whole issue coming up about trust in our data. The other, and in one sense, much more important than the Internet of Things, concerns moving from a sick care system, which is what we have today, to a healthcare system. Currently, we have a sick care system. You get sick, you get some medicine, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. You have all of your choices restricted by government and the Food and Drug Administration and so on. As you get older, you get sicker and sicker, you have more health problems. There is no cure for aging at the moment because the Food and Drug Administration in our country and every other country doesn't even recognize aging as something that can be treated. So you can't even introduce a new product and you die. That's the system we have today. Oh, before that, you have to argue about how you pay the bills. Now, what's interesting and what is going to come in the future is we're going to have a system in which each of our individual genomes and all the biological information about us as individuals has been collected and is being reviewed by an artificial intelligence. We're going to have monitoring devices, not only wearable monitoring devices, but connected nanobots, for example, that monitor us. And that if the artificial intelligence sees that there's something that may cause a heart attack or whatever, the medics will be to our door before we even know it. But you'll probably have ways of dealing with those problems to begin with. And I just saw this morning, just to show you this is not science fiction. Here's a new study that I'm reading right now. Artificial intelligence scouts brain data to spot mental illness patterns. And basically, new research may lead to early diagnosis of devastating conditions such as Alzheimer's disease, schizophrenia, and autism in time to help prevent and more easily treat these disorders. What does this have to do with digital trust? Well, it's this. If I have all of the medical information about me as an individual, and it's being reviewed by an artificial intelligence in real time, I'm going to be very concerned that information is protected, that data is protected. I don't want, for example, a government to look at it and say, well, you know what? We think that we don't like the way Ed Hutchins is behaving or something like that. So we think we're going to play around with the data, or maybe we're going to mandate that Ed do something that, he might not like, but hey, we're looking at his data. I want to point out to your audience that most of the problems you see anymore, and this has probably been through human history, are usually caused by government overstepping. Digital trust is going to be even more important in the future, that we can protect our data from governments or from nefarious individuals or even big corporations that have some nefarious ideas. It's going to be absolutely crucial that we control our own data, that we have some trust that our data is not going to be misused. It's literally going to be a matter of life and death, about whether your Alzheimer's is detected early on and treated, or your heart condition or whatever. Digital trust is going to be absolutely crucial to a prosperous and healthy future. And so for those of you working in these technological areas, your listeners, Sharif, I want them to understand how important this topic is. Hopefully they'll find an actual cure for COVID as well. So I won't have to worry about that in the future. But again, thank you for this, bringing up this very important topic.
Thank you, Professor. Professor David Smith.
My voice is going. Go ahead, David.
It would get better. When I had the COVID, I was vaccinated as well too, and it took me down for about a week. And yes, the taste being gone was horrible. Digital trust is a very important topic for us today. Is society is really connected in a very possessive way as we look at our online interactions. And it really is a foundation to what we're doing with our family, individually, business, commercial transactions, and processes all around. And you've heard me say before that one of the unique characteristics we have in society today is that almost everything tends to become digital. And if it's digital, it's connected. And because of those two trends, digital trust is extremely important, because this type of digital transformation has continued to accelerate in recent years, with remote process replacing face-to-face devices, systems, all becoming internet or network connected. And new deployment methods are really changing this whole landscape. Um, the COVID, which Edward's talking about, I was talking about earlier, has actually accelerated this trend, where we began to do classes online, all of our banking transactions online, a lot of our purchasing online, as you've seen things like Amazon, Alibaba, and others skyrocket with their sales. And uh, in this type of environment, digital trust is really the essential element that is required to uh, be in online operations. And digital trust is what enables individuals and businesses to engage online with the confidence that their footprint, their information, their privacy, their details are in fact secure. Um, and uh, Digital trust really is given to companies that have shown to users that they can provide safety, that they can provide privacy, security, reliability, uh, governance, digital ethics with their online programs and devices. And when you as a consumer, you as an individual, decide to use a company's product, you're confirming that your digital trust becomes their digital trust as well. So it's this interconnecting of the ones together. And digital trust really depends upon dependable services being identified from corrupt ones, from ones that can harm you, from ones that can hurt you. It creates a bond between the user and the company, that the user's receiving what they want. And what's interesting is the more digital trust the company receives, the more likely it is to gain users. And the acceptance of digital trust is really horrible around the world. On average, 60 to 70% of the people using the internet do not have digital trust in a lot of the websites and services they use. Digital trust is used all around, and users apply digital trust to search even for a process or services. I'm sure we've all had security pop-ups on our devices that says this is a dangerous website, don't go there, and things. And that's part of the digital trust that is there. So what digital trust is doing is it's encouraging companies to focus on how do you remove the risk, how do you minimize the risk, because it's something that will negatively affect your customers' confidence levels, and that in turn will affect their trust of your brand, the trust of the ability to use you to provide products, services, and capabilities. And this type of approach really helps companies to show that they're not avoiding security measures just to get their services or devices to the market faster. Some businesses have also, and governments and others have started adopting something that's called a zero trust model. And this zero trust model is really where digital privacy is going, to where that in the good old days of the internet, as you brought your websites up, your products up, you did a okay job of securing them and of putting privacy and the other elements in, but you really didn't know if that was going to work until you went live. And invariably, you found problems. What the zero trust model does is it really decreases the number of opportunities a hacker has to secure access, really by limiting who has privileged access to the different machines or segments of the network, and trying to make sure it's secure from day one. This is a big topic. Uh, I've probably gone too long on this first introductory part of it, but Sharif, I think that really helps set us into this topic. And digital trust varies tremendously around the globe in the different countries. And I'll try to touch on that later.
Thank you. Mr. Willie, what you want to add for this digital trust, and if you want to share some of your projects, you can.
Yep. Thank you. How can you hear me? Okay, good. Digital trust. This is really a big topic. I, I'm looking at the whole of the internet, and one of the reasons why I think that blockchain took off was because it gave you, the individual, the concept of understanding trust, because all the links, all the content, all the data was interlinked. And I think that was the underlying factor that gave blockchain, because everybody saw that you could not penetrate. I mean, you could penetrate it, but it would take you forever to get into or break or tamper with the blockchain information. So that was the underlying factor that took off. And I see that outside of blockchain and outside of the tokens, there really was no underlying factor that engaged possible passerbys. Like if you're just sitting and somebody spoke about blockchain and online, you'd say, "Oh, okay, this is just somebody else talking." But because it propagated the fact that because the concept was interlinked and there was no way that you could just jump in and create havoc inside, that was the underlying factor that sold you on blockchain. I'm for one for blockchain smart contracts AI there. Where I sort of was hesitant was when the tokens came in, the coins. That's where, just me personally, that's where I was hesitant. And I'm seeing, okay, uh, why am I hesitant? What else online am I hesitant in? Sorry to say, PayPal. I'm hesitant with PayPal because I've just had bad uh, interactions with them. So I'm treating each and every individual encounter with any online entity as an individual challenge. Let's go there and see what these guys have. These guys doing treating me fine. Okay, Amazon. I'm sitting on the fence with Amazon because sometimes I get billed. Oh, what's this $2.50 for? Oh, that's for your whatever you use online. Like, I don't buy anything. I haven't bought anything for the last 3 months, and yet I'm billed $2.50 for some kind of commission or whatever. And that is my take with Amazon and on some of these big guys. I'm just a bit hesitant on the way they do things. Thank you. Hi, Kim.
Hello, Willie.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Kimberly, for joining today's session. We are discussing about digital trust. So, what you want to discuss and what you want to add for the Asia Pacific youth?
Well, this is,
Madam Kimberly.
can you hear me? I'm having technical difficulties. Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
Digital trust. There you go. Right. Technical difficulties. I'm and I apologize, I'm a little late into this conversation, so I'm trying to kind of grasp the knowledge base that you're trying to establish here. What exactly are you looking for in the digital trust area?
Mhm. Uh, Digital trust, like we are actually creating more awareness in different technological topic. Digital trust is very important for all of the corporation, even in Asia Pacific, those who digitally engage with these things. So if you share some of the digital trust insight as well as some strategy, how they can make it more secure, it will be helpful for our audience.
Right. So they are like diversifying a lot of things that they have been doing, and they're trying to change their cyber strategy for investing in different things. But I don't trust anything in our digital world. I really don't. So you everything that we're doing, even because I don't believe that they're putting enough risk management in these platforms that they're utilizing. I think that a lot of these corporations are more interested in cutting corners, but they talk a lot about trust. But, I just posted this the other day when we used the word trust. Trust takes a long time to build, and it takes a very short time, if nothing, to lose. So we just need to be a little more careful while we're building and establishing what we call the digital trust. And I think sometimes they like to go out there and spread this news to establish a little bit of interest, a whole lot of fear, to get more people encompassed. But I don't know that we're putting as much into things that we really need to be doing in the cyber world. I think we're avoiding the real problems and issues. And, we just need to take a deeper dive into this. And, good morning, Mark. Good morning, Willie. Good morning, David. And Sharif, this is, again, a topic that needs to be really deep dive and discuss. And I'm interested in hearing what Mark's perspective is. And I'm going to have to go back and hear David's.
Mhm. Thank you. Mr. Martley,
Yes. What is the topic today and all of that? I'm always doing a
digital
multiple
trust.
Trust,
trust. I mean, well, trust is a major issue.
digital trust.
Well, actually, that is a very major issue. As definitely Kim knows and other people know, I'm very much involved in the social media space in places like Clubhouse and Facebook and places like that. And you do have to be careful as to what you hear and what you are talking about, because some of those people are on an agenda kind of style. So you do know that they may not actually be giving you the actual facts. So you have to do a little bit of research yourself. So just because somebody tells me that something is happening doesn't mean that I just am going to 100% believe it. I got to actually sometimes do a little bit of the research behind it to make sure that it is something that I actually agree with and think is true as well. So that is something that I do on a regular basis and try to see what's going on in that space and all along those lines, because sometimes that trust element is very vital and all of that. And I know a lot of times even our government officials, I don't trust them. And as we know, both me and Kim and others have been involved in Pod TV, but it's not just Pod TV. I've also seen it with our mutual friend Zach and with Brian and some other friends that are not necessarily always on the Pod TV network and that may have their own space. Sometimes the algorithms that exist will knock you out of the pocket for things that you say, and the things you say might actually be factual. So you might actually be saying something factual, and I don't know that you can really monitor people's opinions, because an opinion is an opinion. We've all got them, just like we've all got a certain thing that's on our backside and everything like that. I started to use another word, but I'm not going to do that and all of that, even though it is another word that is used for a donkey as well. So definitely we all have one of those, and we all have opinions. And I think that you should be allowed to express your opinions, even if others do not necessarily agree with them, including those in the government and these powerful tech agents, whether that's Meta, which is the other name for Facebook, or whether that's YouTube, or whether that's a number of other places as well. So yeah, that digital trust is something that you have to gain, and you have to also sometimes filter what you are hearing and kind of do a little bit of research yourself. I don't believe that just because somebody tells me, that there is a fire down the road from me, that I'm just going to 100% believe that that fire is there. I might have to go and investigate and see if the fire is actually happening. But they might have told me that the fire is in one place and the fire might be in another place. Am I not correct, Kim?
Verify first, then
Exactly.
trust.
Exactly.
I learned that a long time ago in some government project I was working on. But as an engineer, we always learned, verify it first, then trust what you're putting out. We beta tested. I always am the one. If you give me something, I'm going to try to break it. Literally, I'm going to see how far you can push it. And digital trust should be exactly that. We need to be pushing all of our digital technology to its limits to see how far we go before we break it. And we don't. In fact, what they do is they try to prove it works rather than it doesn't. And that's not how we should be doing things. We need to find where it breaks. And we don't do that. We always try to sell the product on what it does and prove it works. And that's something I learned in law too. The best way to win your lawsuit is to prove yourself wrong in every element you have, because that's the battle you're fighting. And the war and battle we're fighting are the people who want to hack us or break into our systems. I'll just tell you guys this. I think I have a proven fact right now that the IRS has been hacked. So, I went to pull my records and they go, online. I've been going there for years to get my information and pull my statements. And it comes up and says, your ID has been stolen. No information can be provided to you. So then I said, okay, fine. Mail me the data. Mail me my records. They mail me 7, because I asked for 7 years back just to see if they had them. They mail me 7 letters. They couldn't just mail me one. They mailed me 7 letters, and all 7 letters said your ID has been stolen. We have no information to be providing you. So, quite frankly, nothing is safe. So I think that this is just another word that they're trying to throw out there to make us use something and do something and think we're moving forward. But I don't trust digital trust. Just don't.
Mhm. Thank you. Professor David Smith, there is a special question for you from audience. David Smith, how would you have a digital security and trust if we work with several researchers in different countries in search for solution for different sectors?
Well, digital security and trust is something that has to work not just within a region, but it's a global internet concept of how do you establish the global digital trust. And part of the way you do it with researchers in different countries and looking for different things is you set up something that's called a trust network. And you can do things over the public internet. You can do things using different types of VPNs, but VPNs are kind of on the way out right now because of how they've been used and stuff. Or you could set up federations and trust circles to do that. This is kind of like instead of logging into your account, you do a remote desktop and other areas like that to be there. But you see, in the early days of the internet, digital trust centered on interactions between users and websites. And most of these were secured with a public key infrastructure, PKI, that delivered the authentication, encryption, integrity to the digital interactions. Yeah. Trust now has become the backbone for security in the connected world for users, software, servers, devices, content, research. All of these things go into staying up there. And so the delivery of digital trust depends on 4 key elements. One of them is standards. Industry and technology providers and governments and even universities, Virginia, have to define what is the standards that constitutes trust? And there's multiple standards out there for that. And for example, in healthcare, there's a very, very high bar for digital trust and security. It's called high trust. And I can tell you, I've certified for that. It is really hard to get that secure. There's others. In the United States, the NIST, the National Institute of Standard and Technology, has something that's called a Common Security Framework, the NIST CSF. It is a great bar for organizations to use to look at how to secure digital privacy, how to secure the cybersecurity of your assets. And the NIST Common Security Framework is a great one to use there. But what goes with those standards is compliance and operations that govern the delivery of trust. So the high trust security certification I talked about, easily half, you had outside auditors come and audit you. Easily half of what they were looking at wasn't technology. It's what do the people do? What are your modes of operations? And how do you do the things to secure trust? One of the funny ones is that one of the tests in high trust for digital privacy is when you get up from your workstation, your notebook, your desktop, or whatever, and you walk away. Do you secure it? Or can people come and access your stuff remotely? At my company, we have a pink hippopotamus that we call the hippo for HIPAA, the standards in healthcare. And anytime you caught somebody going away without securing their desktop, they got to carry that pink hippopotamus to meetings. But that was a way to address one of the big elements in digital trust is the physical security you have of your information as well too. So you have digital security, you have process security, you have the tools like the antivirus programs and firewalls, and then you have people security. And that software that provides the management of the public or private trust really needs centralized visibility. It needs control over the digital certificates you're using over their lifetime. It needs to be updated very often because it's a thread envelope. I can tell you, when I woke up this morning, I had a dozen notifications of an attempt to knock one of our websites offline, and the hackers' attempts to it. And luckily, the services that we use mitigated that. It knew pathing to get to the websites. It began to blacklist addresses of people coming into it. But that is one of the ways you get digital trust. And the extension of this digital trust really has to go through ecosystems such as across device life cycles, software supply chain, your joint ventures, your partnerships, that you have to begin to look at that because this digital trust is really necessary across the ecosystem. Because if it was just me working inside my organization and using my network, not connected to the internet, not doing things digitally with people outside my organization, I can pretty easily secure that. But once we go out across the global internet and go to organization, people, sites, processes, services that we don't have that personal relationship with, that is where digital trust becomes so important. So Sharif, I hope that answered it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Willie. I think you are working for startup industry. So how actually the startup industry can develop, like different startup can develop this digital trust and this kind of strategy for their company?
Yes, I'm in the startup studio space. Startups, I'm looking at right across the board, especially here in Australia. Trust is something I haven't seen. I'm so what I'm gathering from that information is it's taken for granted until something happens.
Thank
And
you.
then that way the people kind of backpedaling. Okay, we have a breach. In the startup space, we just jumping on and going hell forever. We do it first, then we say sorry later. I mean, look at Uber. Uber sort of went and did everything they wanted to do. And when the government regulations came around and said, hey, you don't have a license for this, sorry. That seems to be the pattern. That seems to be okay. So when we go and do things, we sort of use that as the banner for saying, okay, let's do something, let's go ahead and do it, and then come back later and say sorry.
Thank you. Uh, uh, Madam Kimberly, my questions to you that you never trust many of the initiative in digital world. What is the reason? How you can learn the process of this trust and untrust?
Okay, so let's talk about the war we're against, right? We're fighting people that we're expecting some kind of rules of engagement or ethics. And quite honestly, like if you want to catch and stop these kind of things, you need to end it. And one of the ways is stop building walls, build lures and traps. I mean, that's what we do in the country when we want to, catch something and stop the overgrowth of animals or anything like that. But build lures and traps, draw them into another sector, trap them, and end their capturing. But every time you build a wall, they see that and they're going to come after you. The bigger wall you try to build, it costs you a lot of money. I'm going to tell you right now, none of these walls ever work. What you need to do is stop saying we've got the best security in the world and start saying, when I get hit, what is it I lose? All right. And this is what I have preached for years and years and years. And everybody thought I was crazy. But at the end of the day, this is all that matters: backup and redundant systems. If you have those two things, it will never matter whether you have the security or not and whether they hacked in or not, because you have everything you need to recover. And recovery is more important than any secure system you ever build. Okay. When we built, this is why I don't trust any of this. When we built the network, okay, they had the opportunity way back in the day, which is many, many, many years ago, to instill some protections and some safety measures. They chose not to. They chose to keep everything open so that it would grow faster. And it did. But when you grow faster like that, and they knew this, the evils will mix in with the good. And so what we have to do is educate ourselves as to what's real out there, know who's evil, who's not, do your normal, common, everyday practices. When you get an email from someone, before you respond, especially if they're asking you for things that are way out of the ordinary, but also just confirm who it is. The biggest hack in the world happened when an assistant to a CEO responded to the CEO's email without looking to see that it was really the CEO, right? It just had their name there, but they didn't click on there to make sure it was their real address. So it's just a highlight of your button, right? Boom. Do some common everyday practices. Don't share via texting or emailing anything you care about anyone having. Store your things off the network. Store them off the network. Take your storage and pull it into a virtual private network. Okay. If it's that important, don't have it connected to the world. All right. Because your other devices can connect to the world and pull from that information whatever you need and put it into your computer. But that's what we should be segregating, not humans, segregating our equipment. But I don't believe in any of the digital systems because it's just people trying to make money. The digital security systems, I believe it's just people out there instilling fear. They're making all of these standards that don't work and get a lot of people unnecessarily fired. Back in the day, I felt sorry for anyone who was a chief information security officer, right? Because the system was hit, that was it. The guys in the sunglasses and dark suits come in, you're fired, and they go through everything. But if that chief information security officer had instilled backups to recover with, a redundant system, and all of the mechanisms to recover quickly, which is something we were trained to do in the telecom industry, then probably they wouldn't have lost their jobs, or it would have been a little bit better. So I personally think that this is just a lot of big hype, and we need to focus on what's important. And what's important is your data.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what we concern ourselves with. You know what? Half the time, I actually, when I stopped having protective wear on my computer, the hits on my computer quit.
Wow.
They stopped. And I have a bunch of computers that date back to 1998. And whenever I do catch a virus somewhere, I'll take it, unlike everyone else who just gets rid of it. I'll take it and put it in the computers and see which ones it will infect. And I discovered that a lot of the newer viruses would never infect the older operating systems, so they're not backwards compatible. So there's so much that we don't do when a virus hits. We don't research it. We don't go after the people. But set up some honeypots, right? Set up some lures, capture the people, right? When I want to capture insects, or get rid of the insects on my porch, I don't go around spraying everything because I'm going to kill every insect. But I put lures out to capture certain insects, like mosquitoes. They like water. So I lure them to a water system that I designed, and it kills them. So, but it doesn't kill any of the other animals. It kills the bee, not good bees, but I designed it that way.
I got
So that's what we have to do. And again, two things, people: back up and redundant, and don't build walls. Just sit there, build a lure system over here, and let the bad guys go over there.
Cam, but don't we have to be careful with our financial stuff? Because I know that there have been, and some of these pay systems as well, because I know PayPal recently got busted, Cash App recently got busted, which I know a lot of people overseas use and everything in terms of like being hacked and everything. Actually,
anything with a dollar sign, the IRS got hacked. Okay, anything with a dollar sign is going to get hacked.
Right.
And I personally think it's probably most of the security systems we have. Because here's the problem that people really no risk analysis done on any of this. All of our networks are utilized, and all of our customer support for all of our networks are outsourced to other countries who actually hate us in the United States. So all of our customer support is generally outsourced. That customer support has upgraded to where they actually can access your line, turn it on and off at will. I mean, I'm surprised somebody hasn't taken our country down with that ability. But the thing is that we've given the open door to people who hate us to begin with. And by having that access, they can go in and get any information they want. But if PayPal and all of them have been doing their job, they should have had everything on a virtual private network, everything stored. Right. Yeah, you can encrypt things. I think encryption's good. But again, you're not going to stop the really good hackers. You're
not going to stop them. And then there are different rules in different places. I was actually
they know how to screen scrape. That longer password was BS. They could watch every letter you're typing by key logging. So they would key log and watch every letter you're typing. So when they said longer passwords are better, you're sitting there typing for 2 hours, watching, what you're typing, making mistakes, hitting, oops, no, you missed a letter. Oops, no, you missed a letter. No, they watched every letter. So there were some things implemented over the years that I think made that a little bit better. IBM, I think, had wanted to come out with a passwordless system that was pretty secure. I can't remember what it is. I would have to go back and do my homework. But there are better ways to do this. But the more locks you put on things, the more the bad people want to get in. So,
not only that, but there are different rules in different places. I was in Clubhouse, like I said earlier, and everything. And a music producer, was saying how he actually was not able to bring his laptop to Mexico, because apparently Mexico has a limit as to how many laptops you can bring. So there was a
How many was it?
there's a 2 laptop limit, and you can only bring in 1 laptop. And if you know anything about music producers, they've got all kinds of equipment on their laptops, and they usually need multiple laptops. But he managed to do a little bit of shortcutting and work around it. And I'm actually trying to get him on one of our shows and everything. I think he's out of either Houston or the West Coast, but it definitely is working with a lot of famous celebrities and stuff. But when he told me that, I even had to go back and ask him. I said, "Did you just say that you could only have one computer?" He's like, "Yep." And then they also wanted to know the model so that they knew how to tax it.
Thank you. This is really great discussions. I have to go for the concluding remarks for today. First, I request Professor David Smith for concluding remarks.
Sri, thank you. The area of this is really one that approaches everyone. And Sri, could you pull up the graphic one sec?
Yeah, sure.
So digital trust, this is an eye test graphic, so I apologize. But this is looking at digital trust around the world. And it's looking at what's the attitudes in the countries, what's the behavior, what's the environment, and what's the experience. And Malaysia is right there in the middle. And you can see where their numbers are 47, 61, 54, 42. And yeah, towards how do they feel about the digital trust? How engaged are they in using it? Have they used mechanisms to build it? You know, just for example, if you go down to the United States, our attitude is much lower about digital trust. Like Kim said, most of us know there's not really trust there, that we have to begin to take extra efforts and do things. The behavior, we're higher, but again, it's just looking at the different attitudes. It's remarkable to me that Malaysia and the United States are so different in the experience of digital trust environment. In the United States, we're 78% okay with the experience, where in Malaysia, it's down at 42%. So again, some of the differences you see there, but when you look inside companies and what they're doing, this is how much progress you see inside companies on reporting of cyber, of increased number of purposes and things. And the red shows no progress, the lighter red, little progress, and the still lighter red, moderate progress. Well, if you look across all these indicators, we're not making much progress across our companies and things in bringing this type of digital privacy, digital cybersecurity out into the marketplace. And if you, in the concluding remark, let's talk just a couple of things to do. Digital trust is not a monolith, and you have to work to really go and solve it. And a trusted environment tends to be highly digital involved and stable and more mature. And less developed, but rapidly growing economies like we see in much of the developing world, that maturity isn't there yet. And it's one of the elements that we have to work on. The digital Internet of Things trust is still has tons of vulnerabilities out there. And the Internet of Things, the digital privacy, the digital trust in that has a long ways to go, but it's being involved in working on it. And so you really have to step back and understand the elements of digital trust, the standards that are being used. I love Kimberly's approach that says, you can't really trust because it's not if you're going to be hacked, it's when. It's not if your digital trust is going to be violated, it's how badly is it going to be violated. Google Chrome, which is not my favorite browser, but you have to use it sometime, has now put in a new feature if you enable it that will tell you when you log in on a remote site, has your password been found in the dark web? And I'm amazed at how many times I've seen mine and others people say, yes, your password has been exposed to the dark web from breaches in companies. And that's digital trust. And so you have to be diligent with digital trust. You have to understand that it's a moving target, but digital trust underscores our dependency on using the internet as a means to conduct commerce, as a means to deliver our health care, as a means to do research. And as Virginia has pointed out, digital trust has even become very necessary as we even look at agriculture, logistics of moving something from point A to point B to point C. All of these now have a digital footprint. And for us to secure our water, secure the other things, digital trust has to be established. So it's a very, very important topic that still needs a lot of work to continue to stay ahead of the bad guys. But it's a cat and mouse game. When the good guys make progress, the bad guys go and try to end that progress. And when they end that, the good guys have to go ahead again. So that's part of where we are with it, Sharif. But this is one of the fundamental tenets that must be observed for a digital economy to work. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Willie, what's your concluding remarks?
Okay, yes. Uh, Digital trust is something that I personally would have to rework. I'm building an equity crowdfunding platform, and so one of the main tenets of that is gaining the trust of all the people coming on board the platform. So I'm thank you for this session because now I have to rework everything that I've just to put a whole lot of money into.
You don't have to.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Madam Kimberly.
All I'm going to say is verify first, then possibly trust, but more important, backup, develop your redundant systems, know who you're talking with. Be very, very careful when you do receive a notice that your password has been violated. Don't trust that either. Don't go in and just start typing it. Log out of what you're doing, log back in, and then proceed to that site and change your password. But don't do it based on, hey, we've noticed that your password has been violated. Here's a list. Don't access that point exactly, please, because that tells me that there's probably a keylogger watching you. So the best thing to do is log completely out, then go to the sites that you own that have that you feel like may have been violated and change them independently. That's, I'm just going to say be very, very careful. Even when Chrome comes and tells you these things, be very careful.
Thank you. Mr. Markley, what's your concluding remarks?
As Kimberly knows, one concluding remark is that you sometimes have to multitask. So I was actually getting ready for the show that will be immediately following this show and everything. So if anybody is watching and you still want to stay on Pod TV, Roku, and all of that, the Empowering You show will be coming to your way very shortly with Barbara H. Smith and all of that. So we do like having shows that segue from one to another and all along those lines. Didn't you like the way that I did that, Kim? Just segued in and gave us a nice little quick promotion and all of that for the next show that will be coming our way very shortly. But as far as security and all of that, definitely to pay attention to what people are saying and definitely verify it, but also find ways to be safe in that digital space, as Kimberly and others have been saying, because it is very important. And of course, these are some days and times where a lot of people are being hacked and things of that nature. I've even had some family members myself that are still recovering from things and still having to deal with bank situations because of hacks that have happened and all along those lines. So it is something that is very much of a concern, even a concern to me as well. So definitely do try to pay attention and do all the things you can to be cautious. It is a global issue, and it is something that we all need to be paying attention to in that sense. And on that note, I'll pass it back off to you, Sharif, and get ready to start this next show.
Thank you everyone for joining today's session. Yes, we learned a lot about digital trust. I request our all of our audience, please watch this show and learn many relevant topic from our show. And especially, I request all of our audience, please share our content with government agencies, corporation, and academy. And another important thing, I said that today we just finished our 600 episodes, and we want to congratulate the BRAC University debate team they become the world debate champions. And the world debating championship actually it's a world largest intellectual activities. 400 teams from around the 200 countries, they join in this debating championship. So thank you everyone for joining today's sessions. And yes, World Talent Economy Forum, we are working for this talent economy from the developing worlds. And yes, there are a lot of talent. Let's say this team, I know that how they grow their team combination from a very small countries compared to Princeton, Harvard, MIT, Stanford, Oxford, Cambridge. It's a very small university, but how talent they are. This team, they become world champion from Bangladesh, and they win against Harvard, MIT, Stanford, Oxford, Cambridge. So this is the way actually we work for developing talent economy. We work for supporting this kind of talents. So yes, next month we are moving our activities to Asia, South Asia, especially India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, all of the countries. We will start our operations, and hopefully through this process, through this dialogue, we can engage with more talent peoples, and definitely we can change millions of people life. Thank you everyone, those who support World Talent Economy Forum. Thank you, Professor David, Mr. Willie, Professor Kimberly, Mr. Markley. Thank you, bye bye, and take care.